Good Wednesday morning and welcome to Career Buzz, Canada's unique radio conversation that empowers lives, enriches careers, and energizes organizations. Hello, I'm Nicole Hamilton. On today's show, careers in photography, blogging, and dance. Joining me for today's show is lifestyle blogger Nini Kunu, dance artist Brian Torner, and if you're interested in photography, and why wouldn't you be, we have Mr. TORRES that's going to be coming up joining us as well, Angel TORRES. And if you can stay with us, stay tuned in right here to Ciut 89.5 FM. We've got lots more of these wonderful guests and lots of career advice coming up right after this. Welcome back to Career Buzz on Ciut 89.5 FM. My first guest, Angel TORRES, believes that crafting photographs means elegantly and creatively capturing fleeting moments in time and making the invisible visible. For the past 15 years, Angel has primarily been shooting for Toronto-based arts and business publications in his work, while always learning and exploring new techniques in portraiture, nature, and urban landscapes. Now, having worked as an entrepreneur and freelancer for a broad clientele, he has also acquired great experience and a versatility for responding to varying perspectives and viewpoints. His accomplished portfolio, which includes advertising, marketing, graphic design, and web design, can be seen via his company, archangeldesign.ca. And he joins me now in studio. Welcome to the show.
Good morning, Nicole. How are you?
Good morning. So excited to have you here with us.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
And I'm well. I didn't even answer your question. I'm doing well.
Thank you.
So let's talk about your life in photography. Where and when did that begin?
It goes way back. I was always kind of indirectly the family photographer, and in college it went further. My father was also a professional photographer, so it goes back, and then I started taking more seriously professionally about 20 years ago.
Wow. So you've been doing this for just a few minutes.
You
Just
can
a
say
few
that.
minutes.
Yes, yes.
So you spoke about a little bit about your education. Tell us more about your formal education and how it prepared you for photography.
I took advertising and graphics at Humber College, and they had a photography program there as well, and it helped us to refine everything direct exactly the way we wanted it, needed it, art directed for our own pieces, and we learned a lot of basics there.
Right.
But a lot of the harder, tougher lessons I learned on my own. So it's just getting out there on the road.
And I think that can be said for a lot of photographers, right? That a lot of those unique skills come from just being out there and
Yes,
picking it up on your own, those skills.
yes, exactly. Because it's like a lot of things in life. It's like, falling on your butt. That's when you learn the most lessons, even from the mistakes. You see what's good, what's bad. You draw the best from it. And you grow from that, and you add that to your arsenal of tools
Right.
and skills.
Now let's talk about those skills because, of course, to be a photographer, I would imagine you have to have a good eye. What are some of the other skills that you think are necessary for a photographer to have a successful career?
Along the way, I learned the importance of understanding light, understanding color and its nuances. The temperature of light is so critical, whether it's soft light, harsh light, and how the light also affects color, whether it saturates it or gives it more vibrancy, depending on the mood
Right.
desired. Time of day, sunlight, for example, is such different light from afternoon daylight. And then there's fog, daylight, which is very subdued and soothing and calming. So, understanding all these principles, you put it all together best to create your vision digitally. In
Now,
my case, digitally. Some people still like traditional.
right. And what's the traditional?
The
For those who
the
don't know
dark
that.
room, the
Right.
chemicals. I learned all that originally, and I'm glad I have that knowledge. It's very useful, as in a lot of things. But I always like to embrace change and new methods, new techniques. So, like for example, when I first heard of digital photography, I was all over that, and for me, there was no turning back. I know there's a lot of traditionalists out there, and that's great. It's their own choice. But for me, I like the flexibility, the versatility of digital photography. Even if it's just subtle things that you can touch up, just a little bit of, say, more detail. Just a vignette around the edges. You can make a color shot, black and white, and simple things like that.
Right.
So,
Now, when you talk about versatility, we know, of course, that there are probably about 1 million different cameras out there.
yes, yes, yes.
Probably. That's my approximation.
Oh, yes. It's hard to keep track. It's hard to keep up.
Yeah, it really is. And so, for a budding photographer, somebody who's just getting into the field, is desiring to have a career in photography, what are your thoughts and suggestions on the type of camera that an individual should be using?
I think at the beginning, the most important thing is to learn some philosophies and understandings of what it is that you like, what is it that drives you to do this, and learn to work with whatever you have, even if it's, say, an iPhone or a Samsung, whatever. But learn the basics with that, like composition, color, cropping, subject matter, telling a story, and then work with what you have, and of course get the best tools possible as early as possible. I just upgraded my camera, and it's the top of the line Canon 5D Mark IV.
Right.
And I'm very thrilled and excited with it. It instantly made huge leaps. I had a great camera before and the best top of the line lenses, but this camera right away, I see ginormous leaps and bounds
Right.
in my work. Like I already have a great eye, a good eye, sorry, a good eye for all those different things I mentioned, composition, color, light, but to have the ultimate tools as early as possible, yes, it does
It makes
bring
a
everything
difference, eh?
so much further, so much faster.
Right. Now, as a photographer, and I've seen your work. Your work is well, it's more than just good.
Thank you.
It's really good.
Thank
So
you.
you definitely do have a really good eye. Now, when you're putting together a portfolio, which is important for a photographer, especially when they're presenting their work for potential jobs, etc., what are some of the things that we want to consider when putting together a strong portfolio? Other than great images, of course.
Yes, of course. Variety, I'd say.
Ah, right.
Um, you should try and also try and what's the word? Break down what it is you want to say,
Oh,
your
so like the
storyline.
story or theme you were mentioning,
Yes,
right?
yes. And so it's sort of self-analytical process. You should try and write down, what am I about? What is my process? What is my vision, my philosophy? What does this mean to me? And try and convey that with a select variety of shots.
Okay, that's good. Now we're going to be talking about your project that you are currently working on called Urban Matador momentarily, but want to also ask you about some of the things that you think common mistakes that photographers can make when they are presenting their portfolio for whether it's an audition, et cetera. What are some of the common mistakes that you've witnessed and that you think can be avoided?
I'd say is bringing maybe too much work or things that aren't related. I think it's important to analyze and analyze the process, the situation intellectually, and try and figure out what is really being said here or needs to be said, and then work with that to convey the best, clearest message. But I've seen, some inappropriate pieces
Right,
in interviews or things like that.
right. Now, did you have a mentor during the course of your journey that kind of helped you to structure your portfolio and your work?
I had some traditional heroes, Ansel Adams for like black and white classical work. His work is just so stunning and it's very soothing and powerful. More modernist, I'd say would be like Stephen Klein. I really like his edgy use of color and sort of more urban.
Right. Okay. Now, before we talk about Urban Matador, any tips that you would give to that budding photographer out there? You know what? Even if they've been in the industry for a while and are struggling or looking to secure a good, strong place in the field, what advice would you give?
Follow your heart passionately. There's a lot of discouragement out there for most artists. So we share that in common, but you have to. There's no easy path for any of us.
Right.
You just continue and just produce work. When I have one motto, it's like when people don't have faith in you, no, I'm not using the right words. When people don't believe in what you can do,
Right.
then show them what you can do.
Ah, okay.
You know?
That's a saying I'm going to walk away with today.
Yes, it's like a positive defiance
Right. Right.
for growth.
All right.
Yes.
Now, if you're just tuning in, you're listening to Career Buzz on CIUT 89.5 FM. I'm Nicole Hamilton, speaking with Angel Torres. And Angel, we know that, of course, you've got this event that's currently on, Urban Matador.
Yes.
Talk to us about that, the premise, and what individuals can and should expect.
Okay, it's very exciting because this is the lead in from our Scotiabank Contact Photography Festival, which was a big success at my friend and colleagues at the Continental Dance Club from Brian Torner. And we collaborated on this series, putting together both our skills and talents, him with his dance and his signature hallmark of being the caping. And yes, we just did this beautiful stylized photography series, and we named it Urban Matador. And the backdrop was Cherry Beach, it was the skyline of Toronto. And it's a series of shots of him in variety of poses, waving and twirling the cape like a dervish. And we've had some great feedback so far and meeting a lot of great people. And it's been a really wonderful experience. We finished that and right away went into another collaboration with Mitzi's Cafe by Roncesvalles and Queen. And it's a really wonderful, cozy cafe. People can come in and have a great meal because they have really nice food, honestly. And they allowed us to exhibit our pieces there as well. So right now they are at Mitzi's Cafe on Sororan Avenue in Parkdale. And we will be having a big closing powwow there on the last days of this month, 29th, 30th, and 31, with bongos and collaborating with other artists, singers, and performers. So we're trying to have a nice jam, artistic jam with our people there.
Excellent.
And, yeah, just have fun and celebrate art.
Excellent. And where can individuals find out more about Urban Matador?
Let me see. We have
Because you can be found on Facebook.
we
as
have
well.
an event page. Yes, we have 3 event pages because Facebook only allows 2-week slots at a time. So we were forced to make 2-week slots for the whole month, and for the final closing event, it is. For all of them, it's Urban Matador 2 on Facebook under events, and you just have to see what dates you feel you can come down, and all the details are there, the address and the particulars, the biography of the storyline of the show.
Excellent. All right. We want to thank you, Angel, for joining us on today's show. And individuals, of course, can visit you at archangeldesign.ca.
Yes,
right?
that's right. Thank you.
To find out more about you and your great work and that portfolio that we mentioned earlier.
Thank you, Nicole.
My pleasure. Thanks for joining us.
This has been very exciting. Thank you.
Yes, and we have Brian Torner, who's going to be coming up. He's here in studio warming up. Dancer Brian Torner, who you are working with as well for this particular project. So he'll be joining the show shortly to also share his take on his dance, but also a little bit about Urban Matador too.
Yes.
All right.
Great.
Thanks again for joining us, NL.
Thanks a million, Nicole.
A pleasure. You're listening to Career Buzz on CIUT 89.5 FM. I'm Nicole Hamilton, and we'll be right back after this. Welcome back to Career Buzz on CIUT 89.5 FM. Our next guest, Brian R. Torner, is a world champion trainer and choreographer, 15-time world championship adjudicator, and champion ballroom dancer with an impressive history. Brian received a Lifetime Achievement Award from the Can-Am Dance Sport Gala organizers, and in 1998 danced at the Royal Albert Hall in London, England, as a Duel of the Giants contender with Brigitte Meyer and Ralph LaPena.
Yeah.
Brian is also a former Canadian U.S. Open Ohio Star Ball and North American professional runner-up. He is a 3-time world and 4-time Blackpool finalist in show dance, exhibition, and Latin categories. And I'm sure you can hear him because he is excited to be here, and we're pleased to have him. He joins us now.
Energized.
Live
Thank
in
you so much.
studio.
Thank you so much for having me, Nicole. I'm excited as heck. I already had my first caping adventure with some people coming through on a tour at Hart House. Was lovely.
Well, yeah,
Great
we
to
just
see
had
you.
a tour. I know our listening audience can't see that, but we just had a tour of folks that were coming in and watched you do a little bit of a demonstration there. So let's talk about your journey. Where did it all begin with little Brian Torner?
Actually, it all began because two people had faith in each other and thought that they were extremely sexy. I'm speaking about my mom and dad, their first dance. They actually met dancing in Germany, and it was a month before she had to come to Canada. They decided to definitely stick to their plans, and my father wrote her a love letter every day for 2 years before he came to Canada. And within a year, they were married, and 5 years later, citizenship. So that energy, which started from a dance, actually, is the reason for my being and gives me strength. My parents give me strength. They are my heroes. So I would say that that's really the thing. This is my driving force, as well as all the beautiful, intelligent, creative, driven, proud people around me.
Now, where did the training begin after that wonderful love affair that inspired you of your parents? Where did the training part begin?
So it started in group class situation. So if people want to go to learn to dance, they can do it pretty inexpensively, and it's very accessible. You can go to a community center besides a dance school. If you don't want to go to dance school, you just want to have fun in a group situation, it costs maybe $3 to $5, $10 maximum. It really depends on the course and the length.
And for you, where did you
For me, I
train?
started at the Dance Club Blue Silver, which was on Sherbourne. It's now the Phoenix Club. And they had, it was a German-Canadian cultural center that my parents happened to also do the books for. They have a CA practice, a chart accountancy practice for 52 years, and they're still working at 85 and 84. Whoa! And but that's where I started. The building has since changed hands. But there were different cultural clubs and organizations inside the building, including a dance studio, a dance school, or a club, a not-for-profit called Dance Club Blue Silver, which still exists in Toronto and in Mississauga, at the Hansa House and in the East End in Scarborough.
Now, many people know you as a ballroom dancer, but were there other disciplines that you studied during the course of your journey?
Absolutely. I'm inspired by all things visual, and music, of course, is the thing that is universal. It's something that it's part of our heartbeat. As a global person, we want to be interested, and as a dancer, interested in how things change, how things started, how things evolve, where they're going, and also maybe being an innovator. And so having open eyes and open ears is really important in this universe. And today, where we have to be flexible.
So you studied ballroom.
I studied
and what other disciplines was there?
Ballroom, ballet, folk dancing. I also have experience in other dance forms, which maybe just my confidence, or I would say Laban was the most important person. Laban is somebody who's not around anymore, but he was important because he revolutionized dance. Laban formed a dance notation and an accompanying structure of dots and lines with which you could write down a choreography. That means you could share Swan Lake all over the world. People would understand it if they understood that language. And the language attached to it was actually English, but it was a German Jew who fled Nazi Germany and went to London and formed the Laban Institute, and there are several around the world. And my coach and dearest mentor, Dr. Ruud Vermeij, from Holland, is a big inspiration for us to keep striving as previous top-level competitors, artists. My partner is an author of Ballroom Icons and stuff. We get out there, we're involved. And even if we jump into the deep end, we know that the worst thing that can happen is that we get some help, and we take a moment to breathe, and then we swim to the edge of the pool, and we're fine. We're going to be fine.
And now let's take a step back in your career and in your journey. Do you recall what that first job was, first paying job that you had in the dance field?
That's a very good question, because as an artist or as a professional, you have to do a lot of stuff gratis. It's part of the way, right? You have to be good. You have to volunteer. You have to knock on some doors, and you have to be active in that pursuit and be proud of it. So you have to have some vision, a storyboard about it as a dancer or any kind of artist, I think. But did I miss the question?
That first paying job.
The first paying job. Well, it was probably getting money for shows with. I did some shows with my first professional partner, who was Shirley Johnson. She later moved to the States and became U.S. professional champion. We had some gigs in and around downtown Toronto for not a lot of money. It wasn't enough to support traveling kind of competitive top-level dancers, but the next partner, Brigitte Meyer, that I had, we were representatives for many years, and we instantly shot into that realm. And we had a lot of people helping us on the sides, quietly, anonymously, besides our families, who were photographers and accountants. But we were curious and always would take classes. We would go out, we would participate, we would send thank you cards. We had certain rituals which kept us going, including those off the dance floor, cross-training, devotion to food separation, food combining, doing as much as you can so you can't say later on in life, I regret it, if I'd only done this.
Right.
We were not that ilk. So it's good to surround yourself with that ilk of people or inspire people to get there, and then you inspire each other, and the synergies are just amazing, and that's what's exciting at this point in my life, all the synergy things and things coming back. Old dance partners and new, and Toronto Tango Marathon, moving to Mississauga in January from one of my partners, dancing with my first dance partner in competition for the last 2 years, dancing with Brigitte Meyer again at the Ohio Star Ball. We are getting these invitations that are just mind-blowing. It's all my former partners coming back to me. I feel this is just devilishly good.
Yes. Yeah. And now let's talk about, because you mentioned the free part. As dance artists, sometimes, we have to, and I'm a dance artist myself, so I know this journey that we sometimes have to, especially at the beginning of our career, work free events in order to put ourselves out there. One of the things that I do want to share with our listening audience, which is a great platform for dance artists in particular, to know what types of rates we should be paid, because people will often call into this show and ask. And a great platform is the Canadian Alliance of Dance Artists, CADA, which provides professional standards for dance. So if you're listening and you want to learn more about CADA, be sure and visit their website at cadaontario.ca. Great organization to help us understand those standards that are available to us.
We should also be aware that every time we play music in the public realm for teaching, we have to be covered. Like, we have to pay for that. It's called SOCAN.
Yes.
And there are other organizations. That organization you mentioned is all-encompassing and encompasses different dance genres. The National Dance Council of Canada and the Canadian Dance Sport Federation are excellent starting grounds to find out what would a career in dance look like. How can I go about it? Of course, it's a step-by-step process. So as in any field, you have to, you can't jump into the deep end. Maybe you have to try it out, but you have to be willing to give it more than 2 weeks or 2 steps. And, I think it's about consistency and pushing yourself and having people around you that love you and care for you and maybe check up on you occasionally. And that you share your story with a few people that are not responsible for you, but will be encouraging.
Right. And to make use and take advantage of those resources,
Yes.
right?
Quite often, artists don't know that there are resources out there at their disposal. People can get grants. They just have to be able to not just visualize, but actually put to paper what it is that they. I thought Mr. Torres' interview was very interesting because it was very well structured. He said, write down what you think, what is essential of you, what it is you're trying to do here or as an artist. Write these things down, and then you see them and you're confronted with it, and you have to go through that process a little bit. And it's maybe something that you gather a lot of experience, and then you find that quiet place because you have to have your own opinion about things.
Right.
You can't give up on your own dreams. Your dreams are not others, and you live your dreams vicariously. You have to be you, and it's important to find that quiet time to actually do that and devote time to it. Turn everything off, the TV, maybe listen to the radio, of course. Nicole Hamilton. CIUTFM.
That's right. Tune into this show.
Baby.
And I should also, I do want to clarify because I want to make sure that I'm giving the right website here so that individuals know where I was finding the information. So just to clarify and correct, it's cadaontario.camp8.org. That's why I was looking at the information for those professional standards for dance artists.
Very important, and very important to have a safety net, and also to understand standards, because it's important not to go out there and to be misused, mistreated. Right? Our dance is such a powerful thing. We have the power to heal people.
Yes.
Really, and to make them happier.
Indeed.
This is already such a big thing. So we are vulnerable species, and we need some protection, and that's important. And to find an umbrella space, www.thecontinentaldanceclub.com
which is your company.
Is such a space, yes. And I encourage artists of all shades, colors, disciplines to come together and to be part virtually and potentially really in a space, but not exclusively in that space, but just go out there and be creative. And so I created a website which in our studio, it's not that we have employees and it's an employer-employee situation. It's a renter and an owner situation. And it's a business which has run parallel to the accounting business, which actually serves to preserve the space. So, because I didn't want to change anything, because my dear mother has a very fine system, everybody who uses the space actually gets the physical key. When I came into the picture in a greater manner in 2012, I decided to create a website together with Robert Tang, dancescape.com, that would give people the opportunity. I would give them the creative key so they could access the website and add their own original content. So for me, it's very important that we live it, we breathe it, we share it. We've got to do that. And if we don't share it in this hyper-visual world, hyper-stimulated world, it doesn't exist.
That's true.
We got to get it out there.
Right.
These stories are important. These visual images are important. These testimonials, these reflections, these are all important things. These stories, these his and her stories are important.
Excellent. And before we let you go, because we have a couple of minutes left, we have to talk about the types of challenges that dancers face, most commonly injuries. Has there been a time during the course of your career where you can kind of pinpoint how if you've ever had an injury that's been
Yes.
quite dynamic, and how you overcame it?
I never had an injury in the dance sense. I only recall injuring my wrist running backwards in gym class in grade 8. Besides that, I've been a pretty careful guy, but it's very interesting. I acted I was proactive in being in detecting injury before it got to a stage where it could be debilitating. So I had regular work shiatsu visits, for example. So I had somebody kneading my back, and occasional, it would all be non-medicinal. I have to state it's really important that it's natural, and that you don't pop a pill for something right away. Oh, I have a headache. Oh, pop a pill. No. Snort this, put this in the back of your throat. Oh, I don't know. It's all too much. And so I try to do everything as naturally as possible.
And that's great advice as well for
Yes.
individuals who are listening, right? Because, well, some of us do rely on, the medication first. But, here we want individuals to know that, of course, get out to your doctor first before you make any choices.
Exactly,
Right.
exactly. And that's is the dialogue. It's a sense of engagement. Engage with your health. And that's really important as a dancer, too. And discover things before they happen. But if you do get injured, don't push it. But the worst thing you can do is stop. Don't stop moving. So you still must challenge yourself. If you've got a broken shoulder, I'll tell you the worst injury I had was when I was 40 years old. I was so zealous. I thought it would be cool to do backflips in my swimming pool. So I started doing groups of 10, and I would do 40 every night. I have to say that my pool was 4.5 feet deep, and I would prepare, jump up, land without touching the bottom, and I was landing on the same spot. It was the spot where actually the filter was. It was all the dreck and dirt and yucky. But I proved my point. The only problem is I couldn't move my left arm for about a year because I had 2 discs had sort of rubbed against each other, and I couldn't even lift up a coffee cup.
Wow. So again, getting out there to talk to your doctor first when you've got
Yes.
those injuries as a dance artist.
Yeah.
Right?
And don't give up.
Excellent advice. And now, before we let you go, we have to talk about the Urban Matador work that you are doing with Angel Torres, our first guest.
Yes.
He's already shared, of course, on the event, but how has dance and photography in this respect, how do you think that it's going to impact the audiences that are coming out to see the event?
Well, we're very busy at getting as many people actively involved. We have had, besides the show looking lovely and wonderful photography, lovely dancer, we're both handsome, we try to engage our crowd by being participant and encouraging participation. So we had some extra capes made, and we're recruiting people. So if you can come out on the 29th or the 31st of July and you bring an instrument, we will pay $10 toward your lunch, or give you a $10 bill, crisp, boom, just like that. Why? Because we want to have a jam with music and dancers and actors and acrobats, and it's going to be Cirque du Soleil at 100 Sororan at Mitzi's Cafe
Wonderful.
at noon, both the 29th and the 31st of July. And I hope you can make it out, and there's a cape for you ready.
I am excited. I've got my own cape.
Aye.
Well, before we let you go, Angel has already shared where Urban Matador can be found, but where can individuals find more about you and your company?
They can Google Brian Torner. There is a plethora. Oh, the world is so full of me. There's a lot of places. I have a YouTube channel besides the continentaldanceclub.com. There's also, I'm on YouTube, on Vimeo. And I'm very excited about recent trips. For example, we went, Angel Torres and I went to Cuba. That's the story of another show. It's so exciting and inspiring, and we are so lucky that we had that trip. It was just an energy boost that we needed coming back to Toronto.
Fantastic.
It was great to see you here today.
Great to see you as
Thank
well.
you.
Thank you for joining us on the show. It's been
Great
such
energy.
a pleasure. And for individuals who are listening, we're speaking with, of course, Brian R. Torner. We will be right back with more, Brian, because we're going to be talking about blogging, lifestyle blogging.
That's the way.
Yes.
I
So
like it.
So thanks again for joining us on the
Thank
show,
you.
Brian.
Thank you so much.
We're going to take a quick break right here on Career Buzz on CIUT 89.5 FM. Welcome back to Career Buzz on CIUT 89.5 FM. I'm Nicole Hamilton. Nini Kunu, our next guest, is a lifestyle blogger and a contributing writer with Chic magazine based in Nigeria. She graduated from the University of Toronto with an honors Bachelor of Arts in Employment Relations and Sociology. She recently hosted a screening of her new documentary, The Secret Life of Honeybees, that profiles 8 visible minorities, who balance working a corporate job with a creative or entrepreneurial passion. She joins me now live in studio. That was a mouthful.
I know.
Welcome to the show, Nini.
Thank you so much, Nicole. Thank you for having me.
Well, it's a pleasure. Now, we have to talk about this blogging thing because, when people think about blogging, they think about sharing life stories. So from your perspective, Nini, what is a lifestyle blogger?
Well, I guess the word lifestyle just kind of is a plethora of different things, I guess. I guess it gives a blogger and a writer a way to kind of have agency over their own stories. Because I feel like if you say, oh, you're a fashion blogger or you're a sports blogger or anything like that, it's a bit more difficult to then spread out to other different things. But I feel with like a lifestyle, when you call yourself a lifestyle blogger, it kind of gives you agency to kind of, do a little fashion, do a little life advice, do a little anything you want pretty much. So I kind of liked that because with my writing, I like to not put myself in a box. I like to explore different things and write about all my experiences and be as open and as honest as possible. So yeah, that's where I found my home.
Now, I visited your blog and I've had an opportunity to read some of the posts. What inspired you to be a lifestyle blogger in the first place?
Well, I started blogging, I'm going to say a little over 4 years ago in a first year at University of Toronto. I got in for one of the typical courses, Econ and Finance under Rotman. And I just remember feeling a little suffocated by my work and feeling like I wasn't kind of doing what I wanted to be doing. But then I hesitated initially because I felt like writing or doing something I enjoyed would kind of take away from the time I would use to do my studies. So I hesitated a little bit. But by second semester, I just felt myself just becoming more and more agitated by my work. So I decided to just, throw myself in and do a little writing on the side. And then I posted a few links to my social media and I got quite a good response. So I thought, oh, wow, this is fun. I could do this.
This is for me.
Yes. So I didn't actually write about anything I was struggling with at the time, like moving to a new country or, trying to come to grips with a new way of learning. Writing was just kind of an escape for me. So yeah, I wrote about my makeup tips and just like shallow things now I think about it. But at the time, it was everything I needed. It was something to, keep my mind awake and keep me, interested in work, I guess.
Now, let's take a step back and talk about Chic magazine. I keep saying magazine. I don't know. I'm just making up words today. Now, in Nigeria,
Yes.
This magazine is based in Nigeria.
It
How
is.
did that start for you?
Social media, man. Like social media is everything. So I remember starting my own blog and doing a few showcases and, reading my work out to other people. But I just felt like I wasn't really challenging myself anymore. Writing got a bit stale for me. So I thought, let's reach out to a fashion magazine and kind of, try writing that way. Because, writing is very broad. There are literally no limits to it, right? So I reached out to the editor-in-chief on social media, and I remember being so terrified. I sent her a DM and I switched off my phone because I didn't want to see her response. And then I switched it back on, and she was very, very open and willing to, let me write. And I sent her a few samples of work I had done, gave her a link to my blog, and yeah, she was very impressed. And then she, basically gave me the opportunity to write for. Now I've written for 2 or 3 issues, and I also have created content for their online platform as well. So yeah, just reaching out to her in her DMs and just, taking that step.
Now, as a contributing writer for the magazine, do you think that it's informed or helped develop your creative process as a blogger?
I think it has, because with my blogging, I have a lot of agency over the stories I tell and how I choose to tell them. And usually my blog posts are a bit more lengthy. They're about 1,500 words, 1,200, excuse me. And for a magazine, you have to be able to write everything you need to write within 600 or 700 words. So I found that writing for a magazine kind of helped me to be able to get my thoughts out a bit more concisely. And especially now where everyone is so visual, people's attention spans are very, very short. So as a writer, it's very important to be able to, get your point out, still be honest and still say everything you have to say, but be able to get that out in a shorter amount of time. Like the less words, the better for you, because the more people are engaged, the more people can actually, gain value from what you're saying. So I think in that way, writing for a magazine and writing for their online platform as well has kind of helped me to be able to, organize my thoughts better and kind of write in a more succinct way, I'd say.
And I like the fact that you've shared that as well, because it's really key that that information, that content is exciting right from the beginning. Otherwise, people are going to be putting that blog down and walking away.
Exactly.
So then what would your tips be to a blogger who's just starting out, other than making sure that that content is obviously interesting and not boring? What other tips would you give them to ensure that their blog is something that is exciting?
Well, like I say, writing is extremely important. Being able to, like I say, write and get your thoughts out as succinctly as possible is very valuable. And I'd also say consistency is key. With blogging, it can be a little bit depressing to just feel like you're putting out this amazing content like every week and feel like no one is reading or gaining value from what you're putting out. But I say be consistent, because I found that with my journey, just even with the documentary I just created, having people say, "Oh, I read your blog," it has been the most surprising thing, because you don't think that many people are paying attention to what you're doing, but trust me, they are. So just keep putting out that content, whether you feel like people are reading it or not. I'd say practice your art as often as possible. Again, with consistently blogging, I was able to practice that, but also put yourself out there, do a few open mics, do a few showcases, just get your work out there, get yourself out there. And I'd say the technical skills, I know a little boring, but the technical skills are also very important with like search and engine optimization, It's important. It's great if you're putting all this amazing content out, but it's also useless if no one is seeing it and the people you want to see it aren't seeing it. So it's important to be able to leverage social media and leverage the internet and just, putting out the content when the people you want to read it will be in front of the content, and, being able to use the keywords and the key buzzwords to kind of spark people's interest. Because if people are searching for something you write about, you need to be able to be in the top 5 options and being able to put yourself out that way. And I also think ask for help. I found that earlier on in my writing career, I kind of just was wanting to create content for myself, but that's no use if somebody else doesn't gain value from it. So being able to collaborate with people around you, being able to get ideas from your conversations, being able to just ask for help whenever you need it, because at the end of the day, no one's is an island, and being able to, put yourself out there makes all the difference, I think, with blogging.
Right. And now you mentioned the support. With our guest right before you, Brian R. Turner, we spoke about the importance of having support for dancers. Is there a type of support that you've utilized during your blogging career?
Well,
whether that's a person or an organization?
I'd say with blogging, it's a little tricky, because I feel like most of the support I have gained has been online, has been via social media. So just looking for like-minded people on social media, on Instagram, for example, and following people who put out great content is a great way to keep yourself inspired. I currently follow an Instagram account called Black Girls Who Blog, and it's just kind of a great community to kind of meet with other bloggers, look for opportunities for collaboration. I recently started going to this co-working space called Make Lemonade, where I have met a few other bloggers and a few other content creators, and that has been very helpful to my journey. I also say the blog bar on Instagram is a great one. In terms of physical spaces, like I said, Make Lemonade is one. WIP, Women Inspiring Passion and Purpose, organized by Bianca Harris. I think she does a couple of events every year. So I think that's always a great way to meet other people and kind of stay inspired. Those are the main ones that have helped me.
Now let's talk about The Secret Life of Honeybees.
Yeah, let's.
Yeah, let's. Now, The Secret Life of Honeybees, as we mentioned, profiles 8 visible minorities who balance working a corporate job with a creative or entrepreneurial passion. Why this project? What inspired you to create it?
Well, I found that in my final 2 years at university, I found myself more and more looking on social media and comparing myself to other people and seeing how everyone just looked like they had amazing lives and nobody was struggling. And I just remember feeling very isolated. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to reach out to a few of these people that I think are doing amazing and just, see what they're doing to kind of advance themselves in their careers just for myself. And then I realized that a lot of the conversations I was having with people around me were kind of pointing to the idea, what eventually became The Secret Life of Honeybees, in that a lot of them were studying something like political science or employment relations or economics at university or working in those fields, but they also had a creative passion on the side, right? And at the time, I felt like I was struggling a little bit because I had this background in HR and marketing, but what I felt like I really wanted to do was writing, right? So I kind of felt I felt like torn a little bit. So just speaking to these people and seeing how they're balancing their entrepreneurial passions or their creative passions with working a 9 to 5 kind of inspired me to just, film those conversations, because I felt like I couldn't be the only person worried and comparing myself to other people on social media and needing this kind of information. So yes, in that way I got inspired, and I thought, let's just film a few interviews, show it at a screening event, and see how people connect to it, I guess. So that's how The Secret Life of Honeybees came about. Oh, well, and I guess I should talk about the name because people get a little confused by that name. So the name essentially came about because, well, honeybees are very popular for producing honey, but they're also responsible for over $100 million in income in the United States. But a lot of times people just, when you think of a bee, you think of the buzz, you think of everything around them. You think, like with the people I interview, you think about social media, you think about how great they look like they're doing. But behind all that, there's a lot of work going in. They're putting in real work and they're, putting themselves out there. So I thought they are honeybees in that way.
Now, we're just about out of time, but for those who did miss the documentary, where can individuals either see it again or find out more about it?
So due to popular request, I am hosting a second screening sometime in August. I believe it's the second Saturday in August. And then after that, it will be available on YouTube and Vimeo. But I guess the best way to keep up to date and be aware of what I'm doing next would be my blog, dearseptember.blogspot.ca, and my Instagram, which is at x_Panini.
Excellent. All right. Well, we want to thank you for joining us on the show. Such a pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you so much, Nicole. This is an absolute honor.
And a pleasure to have you here. And you know what? We've got to have you back to talk more about blogging, because this is something that is literally pretty much everybody now is blogging, even if it's being done via Instagram. Everyone is blogging now. So we'll definitely have to have you back to talk about more.
Thank you so much, Nicole.
Our pleasure. You've been listening to Career Buzz, and that's it. This has been a full hour for us here on the show. We'd like to thank all of our guests, Brian R. Torner, Nini Kunu, and Angel Torres, for joining us on the show. Make sure that you tune in every single week right here, Wednesdays at 11 a.m. Eastern, to hear the show. I'm Nicole Hamilton, and thanks again for joining us this week on CIUT 89.5 FM.
Gano Swagwego. That means hello everyone. Iswatundage. You are all listening to CIUT Wadranota. You're listening to CIUT Radio 89.5 Nigantro. It is placed at the frequency of 89.5.